This young man runs across the road away from the Israelis, carrying what looks like a Molotov cocktail. He hands it off. A red stain on his forehead looks like blood, but his movements betray no sign of injury. He runs into a crowd where he becomes a casualty of war. Note that although he should look like someone with a head injury, he sits firmly, his head held high as the crowd carries him. Note also the France 2 cameraman catching the dramatic sight bite. But now what are they doing? This group rushes him back directly in front of the Israeli post. Here people cluster around, backs to the Israeli guns without the slightest sign of concern, even though they have just evacuated what was presumably a victim of Israeli fire. Are these people in a war zone or on a movie set? This upside-down Pallywood logic is one of the great revelations of the raw footage. When they are not acting, even in the same scenes with the actors, Palestinians show no fear of Israeli guns. We can locate two main areas of action. An outdoor studio, well out of reach of the Israeli position, which is the staging area for battle scenes. Here, fighters and civilians run for cover, hit the ground, duck from virtual gunfire. Another staging area, directly in range of the Israeli post, is the preferred site for filming ambulance evacuations. While some boys throw rocks, others stand around nonchalantly and enjoy the show. Here they shoot most of the ambulance evacuation scenes, apparently untroubled by the possibility that the Israeli post directly behind them might compromise the credibility of their staged scenes. Cars, taxis, and trucks pass through the intersection. A family strolls by. Cameramen and assistants stand with their backs to the Israelis as an ambulance goes by. Our hot-headed actors seem to be reacting to stage directions, not to reality. What is the reality? It's sometimes difficult to separate truth from fiction. The gunfire here is real, but the cameraman is far away, behind the factory, shooting other battle sequences with no Israeli in sight. This scene seems somewhat convincing. Real gunfire, certainly, but real danger? Not from Israelis. The cameraman is now moving north, away from the junction, the factory behind him. A man is lying in the gutter. Is he ducking for cover? Injured? Why is he lying down? Is the reception better? Pallywood employs cameramen in the field and journalists who cook stories of Israeli cruelty. Ali Smodi briefs his cameramen as they drive to an assignment. It's a classic.
هو الظلم الإسرائيلي اللي منعني إني أولد كولادي طبيعية من حق أي امرأة فلسطينية كانت ولا أجنبية كانت إنها تولد ولادة طبيعية على سرير في مستشفى.
شغلت السيارة من هون نلاقي الأمبولانس في قباطي. نعم. على تقريبا 12 تلت. هسه من 12 تلت بين مسافة من جنين لقباطي تستعملش 5 دقائق. الأمبولانس قعد حوالي ربع ساعة اللي هو تأخير الجيش على الحاجز. يعني الجيش كان في حواجز؟ في حاجز اللي هي على منطقة جنات هون مضرة على جنات. وفي هاي الفترة الولد أنا أجل المخاض لزوجتي وأنا اللي ولدتها وقمت بعملية الولادة كلها أنا. طيب رغم إني أنا بعرفش بهذا الحكي. أنت اللي كنت سائق؟ أنا اللي كنت سائق. إيش بتشتغل؟
But we know the woman gave birth in the hospital, and the journalist had already spoken with the doctor who delivered the infant.
لا نحكي مع الدكتور. خليهم الله يخليكم انت اللي ولدتها لا يعني هسه انت
Here, the doctor who delivered the baby coaches the father.
حسيت حالك انك يعني خايف محرج كيف شعورك يعني هيك الوضع اللي كان يعني كيف الوضع اللي كنت فيه لما باللحظه انه ويلك الولد بده يطلع ويلك الام وانت ما عندكش خلفيه وفيش معك حدا يساعدك اصلا فيش معك حدا لحاله بالسياره انت لحالك بالسياره
زوجتي لحالنا فيش ولا
بالضبط كيف شعورك كيف بدك تطلع الولد طب الولد طلع زوجتك بتصيح انه ولدت.
Palestinian journalists and cameramen are not alone in shaping the news.
Le deuxième jour, le 4, à 2 heures du matin, l'hôpital a été frappé par 11 obus de chars.
11 obus de chars?
Ouais.
Donc en fait, ils ont véritablement visé l'hôpital.
C'est sûr, je suis certain.
C'était pas,
oui.
C'est pas un obus, c'est une erreur, mais 12...
Ouais. Je vous dis, les traces, elles sont jusqu'à maintenant. Hein.
C'est vrai?
Ouais, ouais.
On pourra filmer les...
Oui, vous pouvez filmer les traces.
Les traces.
Ouais, ouais. Regardez là, les escaliers là en bas. Il y a une place où
on voit un trou, oui.
Oui, le trou là-bas.
C'est les obus alors.
Oui, et là aussi, c'est des obus, mais c'est des obus antipersonnels.
We know exactly what the building looks like when a tank shoots at it.
Pallywood Productions affirmed the repeated claims of Palestinian spokesmen. The soldiers of the occupation army constantly, deliberately, maliciously make life miserable for their innocent victims.
Je ne voulais pas que les gens reçoivent le traitement nécessaire et adéquat. Même pas, on a tout distribué, on n'a même pas de quoi manger.
Pallywood is a public secret on its home ground. The audience enjoys the staged show here, right in front of the Israeli position. Sometimes the set needs to be cleared of an audience before the scene can be shot. Pallywood elicits applause and smiles of satisfaction for a good performance. And Pallywood works. International news media extract a few convincing instances of these stage scenes and present them as news.
In this one tiny area, which Palestinians now call the Martyrs' Junction, more than 30 were killed and hundreds...
Not even the Palestinians claimed anything like that figure at the time. Here the New York Times, October 1st, 2000, reports 3 dead the day before at Netzarim. As we shall see, 2 of those turned out to be unsubstantiated. Pallywood, it seems, has the power not only to convince and influence an unsuspecting public, but also to enlist the best journalists, perhaps out of naivete, in its casualty production and inflation.
More than 30 were killed and hundreds were wounded. In modern warfare, one picture can be worth 1,000 weapons.
And that's what Pallywood is all about.